Thanks very much, Charlie. Really great that the Carbon Trust is providing that investment, particularly for Wave. I think there's a need to recognise there's a difference between Wave and Tidal, and certainly Wave needs that additional push. I think, Charlie, you're also to be congratulated that it's one of the first marine presentations I've seen that didn't include a picture of the Polaris device or the Atlantis AR1000. So I'm afraid I'm not going to follow that. I have got those images. So, Okay, so I'm Simon Cheeseman. Good afternoon, everyone. I work for the Energy Technologies Institute. Quick show of hands, audience participation. Who's heard of the ETI? Okay, not too bad, almost 50%. So the ETI is a public-private initiative between global utilities and global engineering companies. We're really there to support the UK government in achieving its 2050 carbon reduction target. And the way we do that is through pressing the right button on here. Okay. Yep. So the way we do this is we've got an energy systems model, ESME. ESME runs scenarios out to 2050, looking at what that future energy mix may be. Runs Monte Carlo scenarios, looks at what's repeatedly in those energy mixes. That gives us 9 technology areas that we actually look at. And within those 9 technology areas, what we're interested in is what are the key innovations that are required to enable that technology to really establish itself and make a difference in the future. What are the things that really need to be driven hard, commercialized to enable that technology to succeed? And so the ETI sort of dares to tread perhaps where utilities, other investors say that's too high risk for us to invest in. We'll take that punt. We'll put some project funding in an area to try and commercialize a certain innovation that will provide enough leverage to enable that technology to succeed. I've got the fortunate role that I cover marine, and I've got a portfolio of about 5 projects that I'd like to cover today. So the ETI invests at about 3 levels, a sort of paper-based knowledge building project level, technology development projects, and also larger demonstration projects. And I'm really pleased to say that my portfolio covers all 3 of those areas. Okay, so I'll show you where my marine program fits in with the ETI program. We'll look at briefly the ETI's marine roadmap, and then we'll have a canter through some of the projects. And I'm really glad that Joe Fison's here to cover the TEC project in some detail, and Andrew Scott from Polaris will cover perhaps some elements of the Wave project in detail. Okay, so what's really my role? Our sort of ESME modeling, our energy strategy model, really sort of puts marine on the map, but it doesn't appear enough, and it doesn't appear robustly enough in some of those scenarios. But it's important that if other things like carbon capture and storage really don't make the grade, then you need something else to prop up the energy system. So my role is really to accelerate the marine industry to help it certainly get on that glide path moving upwards. Okay, if you go onto the ETI website, and I'd encourage you all to do that, if you go to the marine section, you'll be able to access our marine roadmap. This was published in 2010. You may not be able to see all the detail here, but really the bit I want you to focus on is this area here. So around about 2020, we're expecting marine systems to be competitive with, say, offshore wind. So we're driving, certainly within our TEC program, with our Wave program, to try and see whether these energy systems could get into this magic band. And more news about that later. This roadmap is actually Wave and Tidal combined. So we're now thinking that perhaps the time to separate that out, because Wave needs to be treated differently to Tidal. Certainly the resource, if you can make it successful, is far in excess of what is there for Tidal. And obviously the overseas opportunities are considerable. Within that roadmap, there are a number of priority areas here. And if you go on the website, you can download this, you can read this in detail. but certainly the marine programs that I'm responsible for certainly cover all the priority A areas, majority of the Bs, and the sort of top Cs. So a really good spread across those areas. And I'm happy to debate, what's not covered or what should be covered in there. So really, the marine program, just to summarize, is all about accelerating the marine industry, both wave and tidal, and trying to put in project funding where there's a need for real innovation to provide the leverage that's required. Okay, let's have a look at some of the projects then. And first one is SMARTide. I formally launched SMARTide here on Tuesday as a prequel to All Energy. And what SMARTide is if you're a developer and you're looking for a site around the UK, SMARTide will enable you to zoom in on any area within this boundary, which is the UK continental shelf, and actually look at the energy extraction potential there. So if your tidal range, if your tidal stream, then it will enable you to look at what the potential energy is available there. The resolution of SMARTide is far in excess of other sources of information that's out at the moment, probably 100 times better than the Marine Energy Atlas. There's no one out there responsible for the Marine Energy Atlas, otherwise I get a bit upset. I look forward to being challenged on that, actually, but anyway. So yeah, superb resolution. You can zoom in on areas of interest. The other thing you can do is you can look at interactions. Our view was, and the reason that the ETI took on this project and commissioned it back in 2011, was the feeling where if we actually built out all the potential tidal range sites, if we built out all the potential tidal stream sites, what would be the overall cumulative effect? Would there be near-field and far-field reactions? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. Would there be an impact on the coast of Europe? The answer is yes. Would it be a good time to live in Liverpool? Probably not, for a number of reasons, but mostly in this case for a significant rise in tide. But that was building it out to the extreme. So what we do now is we now come back and see where's the tipping point. The other interesting spin-off from this is you can actually start to do some pre-site survey work. If you're going to put ADCPs down, you can actually start to look at, because of the resolution of the model, more precisely where you think is the best place to put these devices. So SMARTide was about a £500,000 project, took about 2 years to develop, worked on by HR Wallingford in Oxfordshire and Black and Veatch, who provided sort of project management overview, and also University of Edinburgh, particularly Scott Couch, who now works for Siemens Marine Current Turbines. But you can access SMARTide through the HR Wallingford website, through a portal. You provide your the specification of the tidal turbine or whatever device you want to use in through there. The relatively modest fee for that is really just to cover the cost of turning the sausage machine handle. So it uses supercomputers. You don't have to invest in that. You don't have to invest in the £13,000 worth of bathymetry data that you need and is embedded in the model. And you get access to a superbly validated and accurate model. And as I say, the launch was on the 21st of May, so you can go on the HR Wallingford website and access that now. Okay, next project I want to look at is PerAWAT. And PerAWAT's probably one of the oldest projects actually in the ETI. ETI was set up in 2007, and PerAWAT's been running for about 3 years now, draws to a conclusion the end of this year. And this is a project involving Garrett Hassan, EDF, E.ON, University of Edinburgh, Queen's, and I can't remember who it is. Yeah. And the purpose of PerAWAT really is, again, if you're a project developer, you've used SMARTide to say, okay, this is a site I'm interested in. This is where I can really extract some energy. Now you want to put your device in there and optimize your device. PerAWAT, or the commercial version of PerAWAT, is the product you can use to do that. So you may have heard of Tidal Bladed through Garrett Hassan. So that's the sort of a tidal stream device level software tool. What you'll get with this is Wavedyne, which was launched earlier this year. And then you'll get Wave Farmer and Tidal Farmer, which are the array level tools, and they'll be available in 2014. So PerAWAT is a set of numerical models that have been validated using scale data, and where available, full-scale data, some of which has come from Palamis, so thank you very much, Andrew. And some of it's come from our ReDAPT program through Alstom, so that's great. And these tools will be available, or the complete set will be available by 2014. There is a workshop actually in November that Gareth Hassan will be organising, maybe linked to another ocean conference in Edinburgh, otherwise they'll be in London. But if you're interested in that, contact me, give me your name and details, and I'll make sure you're on the invite list. Okay, moving on, WetMate connector. So what this was about was looking at ways of jointing cables without having to bring them up to the surface. So the ETI commissioned a project back in 2011 with McCartney to look at ways of developing 11 kV WetMate connector. This is the device that they produced, and you'll say, bloody hell, that's a bit big. And yeah, it is, because it's a prototype, yeah? And it's on that sled really to enable an ROV to act as the push-pull to mate and demate the connector. But it's proof of principle, and that's what the ETI is all about. We're not normally there to push the thing right through to the end and put a commercial product on the shelf. We're there to prove the principle, prove it can work, and then say, okay, industry, you go away now and make a mint out of it. So WetMate connector, really successful. You may have been here last year and seen our scale model of this, but an excellent, excellent piece of work by McCartney, really good, and they're obviously now marketing that. Okay, anyone been down to the ETI stand? Yes, come on, some of you have, yeah, brilliant. You'd have seen the model of that. That was originally built and designed by TGL, Tidal Generators Limited in Bristol. TGL were bought out by Rolls-Royce, an ETI member, and it all was so successful that they subsequently sold it on to Alstom. The device is built, the idea of the project was, how difficult can it be to put a tidal stream device in the water at EMEC, at the European Marine Energy Centre? How difficult can it be to actually run a device, service it, retrieve it, operate it? So we actually produced one, put it in there, and found actually, yeah, it is quite difficult. But the important thing of the ETI programs is not necessarily to get it right first time. I mean, that's really nice, but it's actually to learn. It's to learn from the mistakes and learn from the lessons that are produced and try and share those out. And we try and share those by putting information on the Crown Estates Wave and Tidal Knowledge Network. And yes, we're learning a lot of stuff from this project. Grid connected in February. First electricity onto the grid, I think that was February as well. We're now ramping up to towards the full 1 megawatt to prove the power curve. But it's not just about the device, it's all about environmental monitoring as well. So there's a sonar that sits about 80 meters in front of the device with ADCPs on board, a number of other instruments to measure turbidity, salinity, temperature of the water. We're monitoring turbulence all around the device and using that to validate the CFD modeling that we're doing as well. So ReDAPT is a lot more than just the turbine. It's all about the environment that you're putting these devices into and what are the positive effects that you can have. Because obviously, there's nothing on the seabed here. It's all rock, 3.5 meters per second. Doesn't really give plant life much opportunity to grow. However, you put something like that in the water, you're creating turbulence, you're getting barnacle growth on there, you're getting some ecosystems set up, you're getting fish in there, no one's fishing around it, so the fish stocks are building. So there's actually some eco-positive stuff about this. We do a lot of work with Plymouth Marine Labs, and we're also supported by the National Environmental Research Council as well, who are very interested in the work and the data that we're acquiring from this. Okay, just confirmation of some of the key dates and some pictures, and obviously the device is a towable device. Knowing that I've only got 2 minutes left is great because TEC Joe Fison will go into more details about the tidal energy converter project. But really, suffice to say, what we're looking at here is, can tidal stream really make it in the future? Can it be cost effective? Can it be competitive with offshore wind? Show us in terms of a 200 megawatt array how that can be optimized. Look across the range of different tidal stream devices and look at how an array can be pulled together. Just some key features of TEC. Phase 1 contract placed in May. Phase 1 finishes at the end of 2013, and we've got some very encouraging interim results that Joe will touch on further. Very briefly, and of course no presentation will be complete without some nice glossy pictures of the Polaris device. But we're really proud to be working with the Polaris actually, and I think a lot of time that WAVE is sort of shown in a slightly negative light. And if you look at the data that the guys in Polaris have built up, you look at the credibility and the engineering that they've got there in a relatively simple device, but which is going into a very harsh and severe environment, they ought to be applauded for where they've got to so far, with a very lean team as well. So ETI is very proud to be backing them and give them that boost to try and see if WAVE can actually be cost effective in the future. Okay, so just a quick summary across those programs. These are the sort of issues that we're hitting and which projects are hitting those particular issues. So in summary, just really, the UK's got a very significant resource, both WAVE and tidal. And if we can develop the technology here in the UK, let's make a good job of exporting it overseas. But let's not underestimate the challenging environment which we work in. And marine doesn't have a right to exist. Yeah, and it's got to prove itself out there, and it's got to prove that it can be competitive. And that's really where the ETI can step in and help the industry. We can't solve all the problems. We haven't got a finite resource. Well, we have got a finite resource. We haven't got an infinite resource. But we do hope that we're making a difference, both with knowledge and support to commercialization. Any questions? If you're quick at the end of this and you dash to the stand, you might catch someone there. Otherwise, you can pick it apart and take some bits home. But do contact me in the future if you want to discuss anything more. And I'm looking forward to a really healthy, invigorating discussion session in a minute. Okay?
Many thanks, Simon.
Okay, thank you very much indeed.